of supply chain bottlenecks, inflation. There are some criticisms about globalization. And I think at the moment we have a period of opportunity, a window of opportunity. Russia's war against Ukraine brought us as value partners together. And we were able on the G7 level, under the German presidency last year, to found a climate club. I think this is an impressive example of policy-making power. And so why stopping there? We should continue these efforts. Instead of having, well, kind of a trade controversy between the US and the European Union, we should consider whether there is an opportunity for friendshoring, as my US colleague Janet Yellen suggested. So we should have a different level of ambition. Why not starting to negotiate a global trade agreement of the liberal democracies?
But Minister, it could also, and I know a number of European leaders have voiced concerns about this Inflation Reduction Act. Could Europe not do its own IRA?
No, we mustn't. A competition who is able to pay more subsidies would be a threat to sustainable public finances in Europe. And frankly, our next generation EU fund is about 800 billion euros in comparison to the IRI. I think we are doing a lot. So it's not trade war, it's trade diplomacy we need.
Laura, and actually the same question to all of you. Are you optimistic that the cost of living crisis will get better, or does it have to, or will it get worse before then it eases off a bit?
Well, I think the question is similar to the inflation rate. Have we seen a peak inflation rate? And I think we have. I think traditional monetary policy and fiscal policy is going to continue to battle to bring it down. I think it is true and unfortunate that the only way that monetary policy and fiscal policy does that is to create slack in the labor market. That's what it does. What one hopes is that the unemployment rate doesn't go up too much, that relationship between the ability of monetary policy to bring the inflation rate down and how much you have to rely on that unemployment rate going up, that relationship is different now. And that's, I know, what Jerome Powell and the Fed is hoping. But I think that we are on a course to bring the inflation rate down. And I just want to say, because I don't want this to be a debate between the U.S. and Europe, but what I really think we need is exactly cooperate. Much of the IRA is about climate, and what we need to do is we need to work together to basically use subsidies and tax policy to accelerate and scale all of the technology requirements to address climate change. That's what we need to do.
But we have to mitigate the negative side effects on partners, I would suggest.
No. I'm saying if we think about that as a general goal, we should be able to structure the policy so as to mitigate those effects. But you know, you're a political, you are appointed by politics. It is very hard to do this. You're spending national resources, your country's resources, and the politics of the Congress led very much, in particular a couple senators, led very much to the writing of that piece of legislation.
Alan, better or worse?
I'm not particularly optimistic because the cost of living crisis disproportionately impacts those at the bottom of the pyramid. There is so much talk about tightening rates and about stimulus spending. I think the only way to break the long-term trend of rising inequality is productivity. I think the minister's right. Yep. You know, ultimately, productivity, no one's talking about productivity as the sustainable way out of the inflation environment that we're in right now. I think the private sector's got quite a lot to offer on how you tackle productivity, but I just think it's going to take time. And The people who are suffering the most will continue to suffer for quite a long time. And this fragmentation of global supply chains and nearshoring, onshoring, friendshoring, whatever you call it, is frankly another inflationary pressure in the world economy.
Gita?
So if our projections are right, we do have inflation coming down globally this year and next. But of course, we've been surprised many times. And I think, last year at this time, nobody expected Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So that happens. So things can go terribly wrong. But the baseline is for inflation to come down and come down across the globe. I think that will help with cost of living. I think the perennial problems of inequality and those at the bottom and the issues in housing will remain. I think those are harder nuts to crack, and that will take some more time. But I think we should be, feel good about the fact if inflation comes back down to the more reasonable levels. On fragmentation, I'm going to put my global hat on and say we really want all countries to be able to work together to come up with solutions. And maybe putting my completely pragmatic hat on, I would say at least at the minimum when it comes to things like food exports, exports of fertilizers, basic essentials for the world, that we have multilateral solutions and not friend solutions or inshoring or outshoring or any of those combinations of that.
Thank you, Minister. Does it get worse or easier, the cost of living crisis from here?
The German media report that there's a lot of pessimism here in Davos. I think we should change the perspective from doubts and concerns to opportunities and challenges. We are not objects of our fate. We are not passengers of the flight. We are pilots. And so let's work on policy solutions for the challenges we have to cope with.
And you see the willingness of government leaders and politicians to come together and find a common solution?
Well, within the European Union, among the member states, there is the willingness to do. And we are making efforts, for example, to deepening our single market and to make progress on capital markets union. So there's a reason for optimism.
Okay, well, thank you all for a very interesting panel. Kristen Lindner, Alan Job, Gita Gopinath, and Laura Tyson. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.